right, what's up? How's everybody doing? You're still with us? All right, we got two more. So I have the honor of talking to you about mental health today. You've heard a lot of messages about mental health already. Lori talked about the brain. Michael talked about suicide. Michelle and Jessica talked about connection. The biggest challenge I have whenever I talk about mental health is that all of you already have ideas of what that means. If you Google image mental health, these are the images that come up. So take a second to soak that in. You have your celebrity breakdowns. You have school shooters. You have people looking angry, sad, lonely, scared. And the biggest problem with all these images is that none of you in this room look at these images and think, I want to have mental health. I want to be like everybody I see on this screen. The largest challenge we have as mental health advocates is that as soon as people hear these two words together, they immediately think something's wrong, and they immediately think somebody has a problem. But the actual definition of mental health isn't having a problem. Mental health is how you address all of the challenges in your lives. It's how you deal with stress. Does anybody know anything about stress? It's how you deal with lack of sleep. It's how you deal with your relationships, your future, your finances. It's how you deal with a lot of aspects in your life. When you want to work on your physical health, you work out, you exercise, you eat right, you take care of your body. When you want to work on your mental health, you have to think about how you communicate, how you cope, and how you build your mind. Now, a lot of people look at me and they wonder, okay, but why is this guy the spokesperson for mental health? Very few people, when they first see me, look at me and they think like, oh man, this guy doesn't look all right. He looks like he has a severe mental illness. He probably dropped out of college, had severe substance abuse issues. Like, I don't trust this guy. Very few people think that when they see me. But one of the things I'm going to talk to you about today is my personal story. I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder when I was 16. When I was 17 and a senior in high school, I was hospitalized for attempting to take my own life. I graduated high school, I went to college 2 months into my freshman year, had a major relapse with bipolar disorder, and then I was in and out of hospitals and colleges for the next 4 years until I found a real way to start managing this issue. The goal of me sharing my personal story with you is not to scare you. I would never want any of you to leave this room and be like, man, that guy's life sucked. Guess I'll go eat. Like, that's not why we're here. I share my personal story to get you to think about the decisions and the choices you're making in your life. So in this really quick talk, I'm going to go over the biggest mental health issues affecting students today, share with you my personal story, but most importantly, share with you the programming that you can do to make a difference. It's always important when we talk about mental health to start with some statistics. You've heard a lot of statistics today. 25% of college students experience a diagnosable mental health disorder each year. So that could be 1 in 4 in your chapter, 1 in 4 in your classes. Suicide is the second leading cause of death on college campuses. 76% of students report feeling overwhelmed. 11% report getting a good night's sleep. I could go on with statistics for a while, but here's one of the unfortunate things that has happened with mental health awareness campaigns. Because we keep giving you all these statistics, a lot of people have started feeling like, okay, everybody's messed up, and there's nothing we can do about it. Because after we hit you with all these statistics, we tell you the only thing you can do is go talk to somebody at the counseling center. We don't do this with your physical health. We don't tell everyone that you have cancer, heart problems, diabetes, and the only thing you can do is talk to a doctor. We teach skills. We teach how to manage your body, how to take care of it, and what to eat, how to exercise, what to do right. It's time to start doing that with mental health. It's time to push past awareness. It's time to push past statistics, and it's time to start teaching you actual skills to manage your mental health, because this other approach isn't working. The statistic that is the most relevant to me, and the reason I started speaking, is that 66% of students don't seek help. They don't talk to a friend, they don't tell a family member, they won't tell anyone what's actually happening. So I always like to begin with this question: why? Why is it that all of you in this room know someone who's experiencing some kind of mental health challenge, but people still don't talk about it? So I was hoping some of you could raise your hands, give me some quick answers. Why don't we talk about mental health? Yeah. Pride? Sure, yeah, I can suck it up, get through it on my own. What else? What are some of the reasons we don't talk about mental health? Don't know how. Yeah, I grew up in a home where there were no words used to express emotions. I didn't know how to talk about it. Somebody else has it worse than you, so you factor it out. How about trust? Can you trust everyone in your chapter? Can you trust all of your friends in your life? There's a lot of other reasons: shame, embarrassment, stigma, fear. If you really want to make a difference in your chapters, you ask every member in your chapter this question: why don't we talk about it? And then you start breaking down those barriers, because this is step A. I had access to the best mental health treatment in the country, and I wasn't compliant with it because I felt stupid, weird, embarrassed, ashamed, and weak. It wasn't until I worked on those barriers that I was actually able to get any help. So this is step A. There are a lot of mental health challenges affecting students today. I think the biggest one is most of you are having a competition to see who can be more stressed out. So let me see if this sounds familiar. One person says to another person, yo, I didn't sleep last night. I have a test I have to study for, a paper I have to write. I'm not going to sleep tonight because my life is hard. And the next person, instead of being like, oh, that sucks, is like, no, I have 2 tests. I have 3 papers. I have a job. I have to feed my family. I don't know how we're going to pay the bills. I volunteer in 6 organizations. I play 3 instruments and 4 sports. My life is harder than your life. If you are having a competition to see who can be more stressed out, please know this is a competition no one actually wins. Because the winner of that competition is the most dysfunctional person you know. Like, you don't win a car. You win by not even being able to play on your phone. And one of the biggest challenges with stress is that there's a big difference between good stress and bad stress. Good stress motivates you. It activates your fight or flight mechanism. It helps you achieve tasks. Bad stress is the polar opposite. But when I say just the word stress to all of you in this audience, how many of you automatically think of good stress? And how many of you automatically think of bad stress? And therein lies the problem. The way you frame stress in your life impacts your body, your mind, and your whole framework. They've done an immense amount of studies on just how people frame stress. People who frame stress in a bad way and experience the same amount of stress as people who frame it in a good way die 10 years earlier than people who frame it in a good way. This matters. The other big issue affecting college students today is lack of sleep. The average college student in this country sleeps between 4 to 6 hours a night. How many of you sleep between 4 to 6 hours a night? Okay, so when militaries around the world want to capture prisoners of war and interrogate them, they let them sleep 3 to 5 hours a day. Because the most effective way to break a human being's brain down is to only allow them to sleep for 3 to 5 hours a day. Sleep is really important. And I used to walk people through 4 slides and be like, this is what it affects. This is what you can do. Then I realized there are apps for that. One of the best things you can do if you struggle with your sleep is go into your app store and search best sleep apps. What that sleep app does is it gives you a habit and a routine, and it allows you to start developing a routine that shows your brain it's time to go to sleep, that builds that skill for you. Lori showed you a picture of the brain that was effective. She told you your brain doesn't fully mature until age 25. Very true. Your brain is the most advanced computer we have any knowledge of. We can't build a computer that does 1/10 of what the human brain does. The issue is, before age 25, your brain doesn't look like a fully connected computer. It looks more like this. You're forming pathways. You're developing coping skills. You're developing visions of yourself, images of yourself, the way you talk about yourself, the way you relate to other people. And that is why mental health is not something you do just when something's wrong. It's not something you do just when you have a problem. It's not something you do just because something's happening in your life. Mental health is something that you build and you foster and you grow, much like your physical health. So now I'm going to share with you a little bit more about my personal story. I have a really interesting beginning to my personal story. I live in Los Angeles now. I didn't grow up in LA. I actually grew up in Pennsylvania. That is not interesting. What is interesting is that I was actually born in Bethlehem and raised in Nazareth, Pennsylvania. If you're not familiar with my home state, an hour north of Philadelphia, we have these 2 towns, Bethlehem and Nazareth. The deal is if you live in Nazareth, there's no hospital. So if you're pregnant and you live in Nazareth, you have to go to the hospital in Bethlehem to have your child and then flee back to, I'm not sure how my mom got back. I used to do this part of my personal story without Google Maps. Someone would always be offended and be like, that's not a funny joke. You're not mental health Jesus. And I was like, I never said that. I never hashtagged that. This is actually where I grew up. Keeping this story pretty light. This is a picture of me when I was 16. You are allowed to laugh at this. Who thought this guy would have trouble adjusting to high school? Not many people. I put this picture up there for perspective, but obviously what I was going through wasn't funny. And at 16, I started having classic symptoms of bipolar disorder. I'd have mania where I wouldn't sleep for 3 or 4 days in a row. My mind was just constantly racing. And then my moods would change, and I couldn't get out of bed. I couldn't do anything. I had no energy. I was lifeless. Because I was going through so much, I just wanted to shut my brain down. At age 16, the quickest way for me to shut my brain down was to drink. But I didn't drink to hang out with people. I would drink a case of beer, a bottle of vodka, a bottle of rum, and just pass out, black out. That was the only way I knew how to cope. My middle brother noticed everything was wrong. He told a friend of the family. A friend of the family was like, you need to seek help. So at 16, I was diagnosed with bipolar disorder. Two very dangerous things happened before that diagnosis. First thing that happened was I grew up in a family where we didn't talk about feelings. So I hid my emotions for 16 years of my life. Second most dangerous thing that happened was that I learned to drink before I learned to talk about how I felt. So as I went through high school, that's what I did. I hid and I drank. When I went into my senior year of high school, I went through a really deep state of depression. Depression is a word that gets tossed around pretty lightly these days. People come up to me all the time and say things like, hey man, I had a really bad day, I have depression. I'm like, okay. Or you had a bad day. So let me explain the difference. When you feel depressed, upset, or sad, those are things that have an identifiable cause. You go through a death, your parents get a divorce, you go through a breakup, you can feel depressed, but you know why. The opposite of feeling depressed is happiness. When you have depression, you don't have an identifiable cause. Everything sucks, everything hurts, and you don't know why. You lay in bed all day and sleep all day. You stop doing the things you enjoy, you stop taking care of yourself, you stop bathing, you stop eating. You may have thoughts of death, you may have thoughts of suicide, but you don't know why. A very famous author, Andrew Solomon, says the opposite of depression is not happiness, it's vitality. It's having the energy to live. When I went into my senior year of high school, I went into a really deep state of depression. And that didn't just happen in a day. In September of my senior year, I started feeling really lonely. Felt like there was no one to talk to, no one would understand me. But even if there was someone to talk to, I thought I should suck it up. I thought I should deal with it on my own. And if I couldn't, I must be weak. I always thought one day I'll wake up and this loneliness, it'll just go away. It didn't. In November of my senior year, I started having thoughts of death and thoughts of suicide. And that built to the point where I was thinking about suicide and death 24 hours a day, 7 days a week. But again, I didn't talk about it. For 2 months of my senior year, anytime I was alone, I was crying. And anytime I was in front of people, I put on my happy face. And I made everyone laugh, and I made everyone smile. And then I went home, and I either cried myself to sleep or I didn't sleep at all. I didn't say anything, because I always thought one day I'll wake up and I'll just want to live again. One day I'll wake up, this will all just go away. And that day didn't come. On January 5th of my senior year, I was hospitalized for attempting to take my own life. Nothing really happened that day. Nothing triggered it. A couple of days after I was in that psychiatric ward, we had group therapy, and everyone had to stand up and talk about why they were there. And the stories before mine were filled with really traumatic things. And then they came to me and they said, why are you here? And I said, I don't know. And they said, if you don't know why you're here, can you at least tell us about your life? And I said, yeah, I can do that. My name's Ross. I'm president of my class. I played varsity basketball for 3 years. I'm a member of SAD, a member of Peer Helper. I volunteered 5 years for the Special Olympics. I attended the National Youth Leadership Forum. I have a high GPA, and I stopped. And it was in that moment that I realized I had this massive external life that everybody saw and an internal life that was completely different. I'm not much different from all of you in this room. All of you have external lives that everybody sees and an internal life that you choose to open up or not open up about. Most of us in this room pledged our organizations with the external life that we've created. But if you don't address that internal life, it can come back to hurt you. And it can come out in a way you never intended. I was in that hospital for a while. Eventually I got out, went back to high school. I graduated high school. And when I graduated, all I wanted to do was get away. I went to American University in Washington, D.C. 2 months into my freshman year, had a major relapse with bipolar disorder. I had to go home. I was hospitalized again. Eventually went back to college for 1.5 years, had to leave, took a year off, and in that year off decided I really wanted to go back to American University. I really wanted to turn this around. I went back to American University 4 years after my original freshman year. And in that first semester back, on the outside, everything's amazing. I'm giving school tours, I'm interning, I'm getting great grades, and on the inside, I'm more of a mess than I was when I was 18. Because I'm still hiding, and I'm still drinking. In November, that first semester back, one night I drank so much that I passed out for 22 hours. Wasn't uncommon for me. I used to pass out for 14 hours, 16 hours, 22 was the most. The next day I woke up, I looked in the mirror, and I started crying. And I said to myself, all right, you're either going to continue this and you're going to die, or you're going to have to change something. And that night at age 22 was the first night that I accepted having any problems. For years I had hid. For years I had drank. Acceptance is a really important part of this, but I hated myself. And I hated myself more than I think anyone in this room could possibly imagine. And when you hate yourself, it doesn't matter what your diagnosis or treatment are. The first thing I had to learn to do was like myself. After that, obviously I needed treatment and therapy. The most important thing I learned in therapy was that I had to change my coping mechanisms. I had to stop hiding. I had to stop drinking. I had to find a way to balance my mental health. And after some time, I was able to do that. I graduated from American University. I went into a fancy mental health advocacy career that has brought me here. But the one thing that unifies all of us in this room is that no one will ever choose to go through anything difficult, but you can choose to change the way you cope with it. Every time you cope, you are building neural pathways in your brain. And the longer you use a neural pathway, the more automatic it becomes. So the day that you start hiding, the day that you start drinking, the day that you start self-harm, the day that you start doubting yourself, the weeks, the years, the time that you use to practice it, the worse this gets. You can develop new pathways. You can develop new coping mechanisms, but it takes time. And it also takes a healthy environment. Fraternities and sororities are one of the best places to work on mental health because mental health is a part of brotherhood. Mental health is a part of sisterhood. We just need to start treating it that way. When you view mental health as an important ingredient in membership development and retention and all of your values, it elevates it to a level where now you are supporting each other. You have no problem supporting the brother or sister who breaks their leg and helping them around. But when someone lingers too long with a breakup, when someone drinks a little too much, we don't know what to do. And that's why it's important to create programming for mental health. I've created a curriculum in partnership with Zeta Tau Alpha called Behind Happy Faces. We started in 2013. It's now currently used by over 170,000 students nationwide in colleges, high schools, and middle schools. The goal is to normalize mental health instead of isolating mental illness, to teach that definition, to give you a vocabulary to talk about it, to help you understand your coping mechanisms with stress and sleep and decision-making skills, and most importantly, how to help a brother or sister who's struggling. I have one more part of my story about why this is important. You build your brains from the time you're born well into those later years of life before you pass away. You're building your brains right now. And building your brains is a key element of your mental health. When I turned 21 years old, my parents took me out for a birthday dinner. Pretty standard birthday dinner. We went to a restaurant, we ordered appetizers, the waiter walked away, and then my parents started crying. And that was not standard. I'd actually only seen my dad cry one other time before this. So I looked at my dad and I said, hey, why are you guys crying? And my dad looked back at me through those choked up, bawling tears, and he said, we didn't think you would live to be 21. I gave my parents a lot of reasons to not think I would live to be 21, but I did. You heard Michael's story today. You would not imagine how many tears I've wiped away from people's eyes, how many hands I've held, how many people I've hugged who'd had friends and family members who didn't make it to be 21. All of us in this room, we have one life. We have one chance, and this is it. And most of us spend our days going through a checklist of things we have to do to get to our own place of comfort, to get to our own moment of peace. The next time you are in your place of comfort, I hope you'll take a minute to think about how to express your internal life, how to talk about this issue more, because it takes more strength to talk about these things than it does to hide them. All of us in this room have the power to change our mental health. It's time for us to embrace that power. Today, I shared with you my story, but I really hope at some point in your life, when it matters the most, when you really need to, you will share your story. Thank you very much.